Valley. You know what it is.
What is up, everybody? Welcome to another video episode of Puck Puck Pass. As always, I'm KJ, joined by the Islander hat wearing Zach Mack. How are you doing today, bud?
I'm doing well, man. I'm drinking the blue ribbon. We're heading back out east, so I'm excited about it.
We are covering the Metro division today. One of probably the second best division in hockey. They were probably the best for a couple years, but I think widely considered right now the second best division in hockey. Surprisingly easy for me to rank these teams. Well, before we get into it, I didn't struggle with this as much as I thought I would because we are at the falling off point of the Metro division. I just realized maybe not the division we think it is, because going into it, hands down, second best division in hockey. Looking at this now, I'm not so sure, but we'll get into that. Before we start, though, if you haven't seen part 1 and 2, where we cover the Atlantic and the Pacific Division, that was great stuff. A lot of hot takes, a lot of fun analysis of each and every team. So we're about to be 3/4 of the way through the league, and this has been a lot of fun. So I'm glad we're at this point. Let's jump right into it. Zach Mack, who do you have at 8 in the Metro Division?
Yeah, now I'm twice as excited to go through this because this was rather difficult for me. But however, the 8th spot was not. I've got the Blue Jackets falling all the way to the bottom of the division. They lost pretty much their entire roster. For best player, I've got Atkinson, maybe Nyquist, but either way, it's a rough story. I don't really know where the team goes from here.
Yeah, no, I'm completely on board. They're my number 8 as well. I mean, the proof is in the losses. They did a lot to win now, and they saved basically nobody. And the future is bleak for the Blue Jackets as well. All that I can think about with the Blue Jackets is the Thanos meme where they're like, "What did it cost?" And he just looks straight at the camera. Everything, like, and that's what it was. Like, to beat the Lightning, it cost them everything. And yeah, it was fun. It was a great story and everything. But
is it worth it to you?
Jarmo Kekalainen, their GM, that's a tough name. Absolutely has to be probably on the chopping block. They're not going to be able to make any moves this year, and they've got nothing left to make moves with. So they're in deep trouble for a long, long time. Best player Atkinson, not much. I mean, Werenski's up there, obviously, but
he's got a good name, good first name. I like it.
He's very, very hit or miss for me. And I mean, Seth Jones, I couldn't remember if Seth Jones was even healthy, to be honest. Because he's missed a lot of time, and then he's been really good when he's been back. So if he's starting the season healthy, I concede that Seth Jones is probably the best player. Sure. For a team like this, you got to score goals, and Atkinson can do that in spurts. Top right up in the number 7. I pray we have the same number 7.
Who do you got?
Oh, I'll go first. Flyers.
Yeah.
Duh. Flyers. I mean, absolutely. I mean, they suck. They didn't get better. Like, I hate the Flyers. No one, like, that's not a secret. That's not a secret to anybody that listens to Puck Puck Pass. But they were abysmal last year. They were winning games 5-4 and cheering Carter Hart like he was the second coming of Dominic Hasek or Martin Brodeur. Sorry. But he's good, not great, probably not even Binnington. And they did nothing to get better. Claude Giroux is on his last leg. He's had a good couple years, but you don't consistently stay that good on a team that's that bad unless you're Connor McDavid, and Claude Giroux is far from Connor McDavid. I do have him as their best player, though.
Okay, I do have the Flyers at 7.
What a day!
I've got Drew, possibly Voracek down as their best player. They're just inconsistent, like you said. Obviously they got better as the season went on last year, and it kind of gave the Flyers fans hopes towards the end of the season. Are we going to sneak into a playoff spot? I don't think they get anywhere close to that next season, especially with how this division is getting stronger. It's super easy to agree with you on this one. Flyers is 7.
Yeah. Your number 6.
My number 6 is the Devils. I've got them again.
Sorry. Go ahead.
They got better. Obviously, they finished last in the division last year. I've got them winning 5 more games this year. They added Subban. They've got a big hole at goaltending for me right now. And obviously they drafted Jack Hughes, and everyone's wondering how that's going to pan out versus Capo Caco, which we'll get to a little bit later on. But to me, that I don't think they got enough better. Is that good grammar? They didn't get enough.
Now I'm
better enough. I don't know. To me, I don't think that they're going to win enough games to be in the. I've got the top 5 heavy in this division, so I don't think they cracked that.
That's fair. I mean, Corey Schneider is when Corey Schneider's good, he's great. That's the problem. He's just not good enough.
Yeah.
My number 6 is the Islanders, the New York Hockey Islanders. I mean, they lost Robbie Lehner. The only reason they were where they were. I mean, if you want to tell me that Jordan Eberle carried them to the second round of the playoffs, you can do that. Not you, but the crazy Islanders fans
I won't.
that are constantly in my mentions. But, like, he didn't. Robbie Lehner did. They lost that. They had a stroke of luck with a great goaltender and all those guys coming together because it was one of those, we're going to prove you wrong, we don't need Tavares type situations. And Matthew Barzal is very, very good. Actually, their best player. I'll go right ahead and say Matthew Barzal is their best player. But they do absolutely nothing for me. They take a huge step back without Robbie Lehner, and they fall far, far out of the playoffs. Not as far as the Flyers, but they fall far. I'll jump right into my number 5 because I know you have the Islanders probably near the top, so I'll let you go into that later. I'll go right into my number 5, Carolina Hurricanes. There's not enough there for me. Goaltending's not great. Last year was a ton of fun, and I want them to be good, but there's nothing there for me that tells me they're going to be not even better than last year, but as good as last year.
Okay, that's fair. I've got the Rangers at 5, but I've got 3 through 5 all within a game of each other, so it's kind of a toss up. But I put the Rangers at 5. I put Panarin as their best player, but they're obviously headed in the right direction. They added Trouba, they've got Mika Zibanejad, still got the King in net. So, the Rangers got better for sure. I don't know if it's enough yet. And obviously the drafted Capo Caco is expected to have a better immediate impact than Jack Hughes, but I don't know if it gets them. I have them in a wild card spot, so
yeah,
I don't know if it gets them there in the top 3.
I was just gonna say, most years I would say the top 5 in the Metro are your playoff teams, and then we're only taking 3 from the Atlantic. But I like the Panthers just enough to give them a wild card spot, and we talked about that in part 1. By the way, Aho, Kane's best player. I don't think there's any question about that. Well, I'll just play off that. I have the Rangers at 4.
Okay.
And I'm also not sure about playoffs, but at this point, yes, I think signing Adam Fox, who's a really big defenseman, he's going to be really good on their blue line, along with Kako. Anytime you have Lundqvist, you're set. Panarin's going to set the world on fire. They still got Mika Zibanejad. I thought they were going to try to go get Zuccarello back in the offseason. I thought they would, but, I mean, you signed Panarin. You're pretty well set. Mm-hmm. They've got a ton of pieces. They've got a pretty good coach coming out of college, or it's his second year. And anytime you bring up a coach from college, there are question marks. Yes, they were bad last year, but they didn't have a ton to work with last year. I think he's got enough to work with to really build a system in a direction. Like, if I'm going to be heavy on teams with no direction, like the Red Wings and other teams, I've got to give credit where credit's due. And now the Rangers will have direction. I think it's a much better team. Like, people think they're better. I think they're on the cusp of being a great team in the NHL, mainly because of who they'll play most of the year.
Yeah.
But that's my 4, and Panarin best player.
Yeah, I like that. I to be honest with you, I was struggled putting the Rangers at 5. I have at 4. I've got the Islanders. I've got them just a point ahead of the Rangers. And I know you've got them falling way off. I've also got Barzal down as their best player, but I think they added Varlamov. They've also got Grice. I don't know the correct way to say it, but guy played super well last year. Started 39 games So I don't think that they fall as far in goaltending as you might believe. And I'm not going to doubt. Why am I blanking on his name right now?
Barry Trotz.
Yeah, Barry Trotz. I'm not going to doubt Barry Trotz. And I think he's going to get the best out of his defense and his goaltending like he always does. But I'm holding them at 4 because I don't think that I've got them losing more games than they did last year too, because I don't think that they figured out an offense yet, and their defense and their goaltending will be their rock if they can be good. But I don't have them falling quite as far as you do.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fair. And like Varlamov, I
He's
can't think
inconsistent.
I can't think of Varlamov without thinking of like the worst of Varlamov.
Yeah.
Like even his Capital days, like when he was bad. Like that's just what I think of when and I know he's had really good years. Like I think when the Avalanche started with like a point in their first 25 games or whatever craziness that was, he was part of that. And I get that.
Yeah, that's the Varlamov I remember.
Yeah, I just don't think he's gonna. I don't think hold him enough to get the guys in front of him to want to play for him. And Robbie Lehner had a lot of pull at the heartstring stuff, and he's a very good goaltender outside of that. But he did get hotter than he is, and I don't think Varlamov has the capability to do that. But anywhere in 4 to 6 for a lot of these teams is going to be fitting because of the way this division lines up. So the Islanders at 4. Who do you have at 3?
I've got the Hurricanes at 3. Again, just another point ahead of the Islanders. Like I said, I got these all tight. I've got Aho down as their best player. I think they are going to be the benefactors of the way that this division is set up. And I know we're kind of beating a dead horse when we keep saying that, but I think obviously the Rangers and the Devils are heading in the right direction. Flyers and Blue Jackets, not so much. But I don't see the Rangers and the Devils eclipsing the Hurricanes quite yet. I think it's maybe the season following next season.
Okay.
Or the one following that, somewhere down the road. I think they get there eventually, absolutely, but I just don't think it happens yet, and that's for that reason I've got the Hurricanes at 99 points in 3rd place.
Okay. Well, there's one team that you've said that I haven't yet.
No, yeah, I can't wait to hear this.
I need you to just hang on throughout this. It won't be in 90 seconds, but people forget my number 3 is the New York Devils. People forget that this was a playoff team before Taylor Hall got hurt. Taylor Hall was injured the majority of, even when he played, he was clearly injured. He was the MVP of that season. They went to the playoffs. And all they've done is get Taylor Hall back healthy, draft what a lot of people think is the best available player in the draft, get PK Subban. Yeah, Corey Schneider hit or miss, whatever. And I mean, Ray Shero knows what he's doing as GM of the Devils. As odd as that sounds, because it hasn't been the norm other than getting Taylor Hall for peanuts, they were a playoff team when healthy with Taylor Hall, and now they're healthy with 2 much better pieces in place with Taylor Hall. I think 3 might be too low. They might challenge my number 1 for the division for most of the season. I think they fall off because they're going to still be a young team, and you need goaltending for 82 games. I don't know if they have that, but they are easily a playoff team to me in this division. I mean, they were a playoff team, and we didn't get the same Devils team last year, and we're going to get a better team than the playoff team 2 years ago. I think it's a no-brainer. But that was a long time ago in the hockey world. So I get why people are forgetting that, but it's worth remembering that they were pretty good just on the back of Taylor Hall. You had leadership like PK Subban in a locker room like that. And they're pretty good.
No, yeah, that's a good point. I'll be honest, I forgot the success that Taylor Hall had before he was injured. I think if I remember correctly, they won the season series with Tampa that season. They ended up losing to him in the playoffs, but yeah, you're right. They were a good team when Taylor Hall was healthy, and they've only gotten better since. So I don't know that they get higher than 3 like you mentioned, but I could see them getting that 3 spot.
Yeah. I'll jump right into number 2. I mean, obviously, we're both thinking the same thing. We're probably going to match here. Wait, you said you're number 3, right? Oh, yeah. You had
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, duh. I'm an idiot. You're the Canes. Sidney Crosby. Greatest player of this generation. To me, greatest player of all time. And he will solidify himself as far and away the best player in the league when he drags this pitiful Penguins team to the playoffs this year. They are so bad, and he's gonna do what Taylor Hall did 2 years ago. They're gonna make the playoffs on the back of Sidney Crosby. Yes, Gino's there. Yes, Matt Murray can show something. They've got good pieces. They lost Phil the Thrill. We talked about that with the Coyotes last week. The Penguins team is not going to be good until 87 just turns it on, and they're gonna win games in a row. Then they're gonna lose a bunch in a row, and literally it's gonna be in the standings. You're gonna see the Devils at 3, Sidney Crosby at 2, and I mean no secret who's at number 1, but like it's just gonna be the Sidney Crosby show all year, and I can't wait for it because as a Sidney Crosby fan, all I've had to hear about is poor McDavid. Oh, we need to get him out of Edmonton. It's so sad. This is going to be a similar situation, and Sidney Crosby is going to do it better than Connor McDavid does, just like he does everything else. No brainer.
Okay. I also have the Penguins at 2. I have them barely the 2, almost the 1. I've got 87 down as their best player, but
I hate you for that.
I won't say anything other than that. I don't think they're as bad as you think they are, though. They got younger. Matt Cullen retired. They add Galchenyuk, who's only 25 years old. Malkin is actually now their oldest player on the roster at 33. I think they're getting
crazy to me.
Yeah, they're getting better. They're getting younger. Yeah, 87 will far and away be their best player. He'll put up the most points and he'll make the most plays on the team. But I honestly don't think they're bad. And they struggled at the beginning of last year, and I don't think that'll be the case. Just unfortunately for them, I don't think the number 1 seed will struggle either at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, or at all. I do think it's worth mentioning. I think a lot of how bad they are depends on Matt Murray's mental state. Anytime you lose your dad, it's going to be tough.
Yep.
But he never really recovered at all over the past really season and a half. And I don't remember exactly when all this happened, but I know mentally he's had a huge hurdle to get over. He's a goaltender. You get over that hurdle or you don't. Now, I'm not saying like suck it up, kid. I'm just saying like goaltenders react way different than way different than the average human. And it'll. I mean, they might have to win a lot of 5-4, 6-5 games. They could do that. I mean, anytime you can put 87 on one line and 71 on the other, no matter who they're paired with, they're going to be pretty good. Number 1, I'll let you dive into the Capitals first because they blocked you on Twitter, so I really don't know how much you know about the Capitals.
Yeah, so we're unanimous here. I've got Ovechkin down as their best player. I think that they know, they're very aware that defense is where they're weak, and I think that honestly think that they figure it out. I think they sit down, they figure it out, they go through practice after practice or video film after video film, whatever it is, to figure that out because their offense isn't going anywhere. And there's really not much work to be done there as long as you have Ovechkin who can shoot from that side of the ice. I think that they're really going to hone in on their defense. They're going to figure it out. And I know that Holtby's just going to be the most exciting guy back there.
Yeah, the guy whose pulse we have to check every once in a while. I agree with you. Defensively, they're lacking. Anytime you trade Matt Niskanen for Radko Gudas, you're automatically lacking in that department, no matter what. That trade still surprises me. I don't fully understand it, other than a little bit of a cap difference. If they feel like they need a bruiser out there, I'm not sure why they have that opinion. But everything else you said, I completely agree. I picked them to make the Cup final rematch against the Golden Knights at the end of the season or before the offseason. I'm not exactly sure when, but I love this team. And I now they're a playoff proven team. Last year was such a fluke. And like we talked about the Canes, that's never going to happen again. I chalk it up to coaching, not because I think, oh my God, Reardon?
Coach Brindamore?
Yeah. No, the Capitals. I want to say Reardon.
Oh.
Their first year coach that was the goalie coach. And that's what I mean. Like he was very inconsequential throughout that whole series. Barry Trotz would have got that team up and ready to play for Game 7. They weren't ready for Game 7, and they laid an egg. That's not going to happen again. They're going to punish the Canes every time they play this year. Like how Ovechkin operates. I would not want to be whatever Kane's goal is in that on those nights. But they're a really good team. They're probably the second or third best team in the East, and as long as you have 8 on the ice, you're going to score goals. So, and you said it best. So that's
if they make the Stanley Cup final and they've got that rematch against the Knights, do they win?
No, I don't. I don't think they do because I think the Knights are now there. Like obviously, like the joke was like they last year when they lost in the playoffs, like now they're hockey fans. Now they're a team because they experienced heartbreak to a level that most teams still haven't. Looking at you, Flyers fans. So the Capitals aren't the same team they were in that playoff run. Arguably, they were better during that playoff run than they will be this season. I think they run away with the division, though. I do. If the Devils are what they think they are, maybe it's close. But the Capitals run away. But I don't think they're as good as the Knights. But we'll get there when we'll see. I'm right later on down the road. But yeah, I look at this division and I didn't question much. A lot of teams got better and the other ones got worse.
Okay, yeah, I had the same. I thought it was a lot of movement. It wasn't like everyone got better or everyone got worse. I agree with you. I think either half got better, half got worse. Another question surrounding this division that I want to ask you and the listeners is: do you think A, the Hurricanes continue celebrating, and B, does it rub off on any other team?
If it was gonna rub off on any other team, it'd probably be the Blue Jackets because they're gonna struggle to get people in that arena now. No, I don't. Unfortunately, and I like the celebrations. We talked about that a lot on the podcast. I like the celebrations, but I don't think it continues. I think it's a different culture in that. And hockey's so annoying with culture, but
yeah.
I think it's a totally different. Now they're expected to be good, and like people think they're going to be good because of the playoff run, but there are also like realists out there who say like that's not going to happen again. Like myself, like I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year. Now they have to prove that, and also get people in the arena. I don't think they're going to celebrate. I wish they would, but they won't. But yeah, the Blue Jackets will have to get people in the arena. What about you? Do you think they continue it?
I don't think so. I'm on the same page. I'm like, but it's kind of like a 55-45. Like 55% of me thinks that they won't. 45. So it's kind of close, but.
Yeah,
I kind of wish they would, but it's kind. I think it's also kind of cool if they kind of leave it as last season's thing. It got them as far as it got them. Let's build off of that in a different way. I can respect that too.
Yeah, it was like their rallying cry for last season, and it's why they had so many eyes on them going into the playoffs. And you're right, it would be a cool thing to just kind of like leave in the 17-18 or 18-19 season. Any last notes on the Metro before we announce Part 4, the finale?
No, this will be other than this will be the one I keep my closest eye on versus like our predictions versus what happens because I think we have very different. I'm gonna tally them up after, but I think we have very different standings and for very different reasons. So this will be a good one to keep an eye on. I think.
Yeah, it'll be a lot of fun, and I don't really have a dog in the fight in that division at all. I joke about you with the Islanders, but I know you want them to do well just for. Their pride because they just get. Now they're the third worst team to me in that area. Like it was for a while. Like Rangers, Islanders, Devils. Last year was Islanders, and the other two just kind of stunk. Like now again, to me, it's Rangers, Devils interchangeable, and the Islanders are at the bottom where they belong.
You honestly got me wondering how many of the teams were the benefactors of Taylor Hall being hurt. Now that they that very well could have been the reason they were in the playoffs. So I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see. I'm hopeful. But I've been wrong, and I've been wrong much worse than predicting the Devils in the playoffs. Speaking of playoffs, a lot of playoff teams in our final division. Do you want to tell the audience that can't do deductive reasoning who the final division we're doing is?
Let's see. Yeah, I'll test my deductive reasoning. We've got the division left that doesn't have 8 teams in it. The Central Division. And probably KJ's favorite division.
It is my favorite division. I cannot tell you, like, I get excited about a lot of stuff, like Zach's bad takes, but the Central Division is why we watch hockey. Like, you'll have to wait for Part 4, but everything you love about hockey is in the Central Division. I promise you that. You'll definitely want to tune in. It's going to be electric. You're going to love it. Any last words? Not on the division, just on hockey in general. Is anything bugging you? You said something. You don't have to save it for the Central Division breakdown. You were very confused about a signing today.
About a what?
About the Colton
Sissons yeah. The 7 years at he's getting just under $3 million a year. I don't really understand it. I don't really know how you expect to get. How is Colton Sissons going to be motivated in any sort of way? I don't understand it.
7 years under $20 million. That's close to a record. That's wild to me that he wanted to sign a 7-year contract for that minimal amount of money. But it is what it is. We'll dive into the Predators and so many more incredible teams that will be incredible this year in the NHL. For Zach Mack, I'm KJ. Thank you guys so much for watching this series. We'll bring you the finale later this week. Have a great evening.
Valley. You know what it is.